everyone.
It
How
All
doesn't
right.
matter really.
I'm going to close the open mic sign up now, Sandy. Everyone have a wonderful time.
Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, good evening, bienvenidos, everyone. So glad that you are joining us here for Cultivating Voices live poetry. It's April now, so I'm saying International Poetry Month. Because many countries celebrate April as Poetry Month, including our featured poets today for our Poets Focus joining us from Ireland. It's Poetry Month in Ireland. But as I always like to say, and I've experienced, I feel like every day is Poetry Day in Ireland. It truly, truly is. And Kim and I were just reminiscing, and we see people here in the room with us that last April we were over. I was touring with the Glass Studio. Kim was also reading from her incredible debut collection, The Mayapple Forest, and the hospitality we received was just amazing. So we're really happy to return this April with our first reading of the month, our new book showcase, showcasing poets from Ireland. I want to thank everyone who came out at our last reading in March to celebrate our 5th anniversary of Cultivating Voices live poetry. And a huge round of applause to our 6 members who represented us live in Los Angeles last week at AWP. Risa Denenberg, Kara Briggs, Ansley Clark, Tanya Cohen, Tamara J. Madison, and Ann Tweedy. We were with Swim Every Day, Mom Egg Review, Whale Road Review, Perugia Press as part of a off-site event, and these poets represented us really well in our beautiful, beautiful live event. So thank you. And also to the many, many members of Cultivating Voices live poetry that I was able to meet in person in Los Angeles. I just was reminiscing a little bit in the green room that the first person I saw was Lynda VE Crawford, who's here today, Amy Ash, also Thomas A. Thomas. Others of you might have joined in, and there's a lot of squares here. So thank you so much for just being so friendly and chatting with me at AWP, and of course for being here today for this just extraordinary reading that I know we're about to experience with Pam Muller and Damien Donnelly and Rachael Stanley. I can't tell you how really memorable and moving it is for me always, always to be able to meet poets wherever, whether that's in Ireland or in the States, to meet you and to be in your presence. But of course, it all started here over 5 years ago in these little squares. Well, it didn't start in the little squares. We weren't on Zoom initially. We were going Facebook Live, but now in these little squares. So it's such a pleasure always to be connecting, whether it's in the squares or in person. And speaking of in person, I want to give a special shout out to those of you here in the States who came out yesterday in cities all across the United States for the showing of human rights and the hands-off protests. You not only were representing yourselves well, but as we know, for human rights across the globe in speaking out against tyranny and injustice. So we truly, truly appreciate those efforts. This is but one side of what poetry does and why it matters. And another is to witness and remember. And today, our poets focus on memory with our 3 stunning poets joining us from Ireland, and you on the open mic will do just that. Show us this other dimension of why poetry matters and what it does. So welcome and gratitude to our featured readers from Ireland, Pam Muller, Rachael Stanley, and Damien Donnelly. Well, I'm your host, Sandy Yannone, for Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. Before I get started, also a big shout out to Don Krieger and Kim Ports Parsons for their support of the program today. And let's get started with our first feature. And a reminder, we'll be hearing from our three featured readers, 15 minutes apiece from a current collection, and possibly some new work. We love that too. And then we'll go to the open mic, as many folks as we can today for our 90-minute program. Well, Pam Muller is a poet and artist. She was born in South Africa in 1958 and has been living in the southwest of Ireland since 1978. She's a long-term member of both the Kenmare Clan Writers Group and the Sneem Writers Group, and her poetry has been published in the Curlew, Boyneberries, Lothlorien Poetry Journal, the Hyben Journal, Speaking for Shane, Poets Meet Painters, the Stony Thursday Book, and the Writing on the Edge anthology. And her debut collection, New Soil, was published by Revival Press, of course, right out of Limerick in 2024. And so great to be connecting with you after our gatherings in Limerick last April. So much welcome, Pam.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's lovely to see you and to see all the other people and to see Kim and the other people I've seen reading their poems before on this forum. So I'm just delighted to be here, even though I have spent the entire day and yesterday in front of the computer. I was involved with a webinar that went on for 7 hours both days. So if I fall asleep, I'm not being rude. So will I show you? That's my book. I don't know if you can see it. New Soil. Okay. Do you want me to read now? Or shall we introduce all the...
Go ahead. Yeah, I introduce each of you individually.
Individually. So do you want me to read first?
Yep, you're good. Yep, you're up.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. Please tell me when I'm getting near the 15 minutes because that will be very helpful. So a lot of this book actually is about memory. So I think it fits in quite well with the theme. Right. So I came to Ireland when I was not quite 20. And this is the poem New Soil. At the start, you feel something will be lost if you do not look forward. So you listen and learn to speak in unfamiliar ways. Let go phrases for which you think your newborns will have no use, rooted as they must be in this new soil. Your chilled, probing fingers feel the secrets of dark, heavy ground, so unlike the warm, crumbling earth you knew. You tell yourself the world is round. Try to cultivate a mature, global outlook. Your own culture shrinks into storage someplace deep. Now soft rain dilutes the past. Create small, directional changes in the eddies of your heart. You don't know if you can ever belong, or even if that matters. You are here, and from now on, you begin to stop looking back. Now, I'll find another one. Okay. This is a little poem which is kind of nicer to look at. If I do that, you'll get a kind of an idea, more or less. It's got a sort of a pattern to it. It's called Granny Sylvia's Charms. No one else wanted her bracelet, the outdated trinkets, too heavy for comfort. A heart engraved with love, a wishbone, 3 miniature rings. The chain clasped with a tiny lock, a line of silver charms linking her years. A gypsy caravan, with a potter at his wheel inside, an artist's easel. Each little charm was a gift she was too superstitious to buy for herself. A telephone, a gramophone, a pair of dancing shoes. Though perhaps she asked or looked longingly or hinted at what she wanted. A lucky 1932 threepenny coin, a cat washing her face, a Scotty dog. I wish I'd got her talking about the dangling shapes, her impressions, recollections, a baby carriage, a garden trowel, an iron. She never travelled far, never left the land of her birth or learned to drive. The St. Christopher medal, a unicycle, a ship in a bottle. Yet in my hand I hold iconic landmarks abroad, places she only read about. London Bridge, the Statue of Liberty, a Star of David. Did she yearn for adventure while settled in domesticity? Or was this bracelet enough? A rocking chair, a hot water bottle, the Indian wheel of life. Okay, so this is a one from my childhood, a memory called Weekends Home. We went to boarding school at a certain time and we came home every weekend. Our mother cooks golden gem squash in their half shells, sweet green peas with butter, feeding hearts as well as stomachs. No malodorous cabbage or stringy school stew. She grills chops with fat the right side of crispy, rosemary gravy and fluffy mashed potatoes. The bathroom door remains open. We chat between rooms while we soak in lavender bubbles. On winter nights, she brings a tray of soup and toast. Far from drafts and assembly bells, black-veiled nuns inspecting skirt lengths with a ruler, polished lace shoes in rows facing forward. We read late, paint each other's nails lilac and pink, listen to music under our eiderdowns as icing sugar snow sifts over the hills. Sunday afternoon, the winding road car-sick, even the sun sinking, pulling color away, confiscating it for a week. And thank you. This is a little poem which is a kind of a mixture of different people in it. They're not actually my grandparents. They're other people's grandparents. But I've met people here in Ireland who I spoke to. And these are amazing characters who had a fairly hard life in their day. It's called After All. The calloused grandfather tells us of hard times, mixing concrete with a shovel, digging foundations by hand, how he kept joking, drinking the health of another newborn, when sometimes he felt like walking away from it all. The grandmother tells us, we had nothing. We did the best we could with what we had and made soup with bones. Children collected berries in old jars to make jam. They played with a skipping rope and stones. Every year she knitted 7 woolen jumpers. The children chose the color wool they wanted, bought with the money she got from selling the jam. She crocheted a shawl from scraps for the baby. Now, as her gnarled hands fold frequently mended quilts, She touches their names, embroidered in careful stitches. When they were young, they sang and danced and loved. After all, that is what they had. Okay, how are we going for time? Are we good?
We're great. Yeah, you have like literally, you have like 7 minutes to go.
Oh, good. Okay. This is one I wrote about a memory I had from about my son and my father-in-law. Once upon a time, Granddad looked with one eye. The wee boy took the jest, squeaked with joy, huff and puff and blow the house down. He threw stones in puddles. The merry toddler laughed, hungry for more fun. The shy wolf slunk into the forest. The gleeful boy ran ahead, hid behind a tree and said, "I want to live in the woods." The wolf watched from afar. The boy built a house of sticks, grew into a thoughtful man, remembered and sometimes smiled, a man glad to find the inner wolf. I live in a family of artists. We have an art gallery on the Ring of Kerry. And my mother-in-law used to talk about people being different colors. So this is a poem called Remembering the Reds. I have lived with Reds all my life, not Auburns or communists, although some leaned left and were into communal living. Temperamentally, I mean, they were choleric, fiery types, confident, loud and impatient, passionate, some of them table-thumping zealots. Not always extroverts, but expressive and creative. They untethered their laughter, screamed out their pain. Quick to erupt, forthright, tactless, strong, hard-working individuals. No time for second guessing or endless planning. They were doers. They made epic journeys, challenged by mountains and oceans, unbound by convention and rules, courageous, hard-headed. Often libido-led, they'd twirl the tango, sex up the salsa, take my breath away with their histrionics and drama. Generous, too. I remember a silk dress and a scarlet cloak, the door always open, any wanderer assured a bed for the night. Reds fed my blood with cherries, raspberries, beetroots and tomatoes, scattered poppy seeds, grew roses scented like Turkish delight. They gave this yellow belly and blue heart an abundant, surging life. From them I learned who I don't want to be and what I wish I were. Okay, here's another memory about my late neighbor who died, and his home is still standing there. It's become a ruin. Nobody moved in, his relatives don't seem to want it. Anyway, it's called A Decade Later, even though this is actually more than a decade. Thorny stems have claimed my late neighbor's home, grabbed what ground they could, crept under the eaves and pushed in. The rising path John once walked now belongs to the hare. Ivy seals the windows. A tree grows from the chimney. Winter winds have lifted slates and knocked the leaning shed. In the slant of sun, slow cattle moved in the bramble field. Fallen stones lie scattered where wild goats leapt a wall. The rusted gate still hinges on twisted wire and twine. Fuchsia bells droop over the fence his grandchildren climbed. The hedge he trimmed is tall and wild with purple flowers. I pause as I pass his door, where he left his blackthorn stick. Been years since a dog came out to join me on my walk. This is a memory from 3 years ago, and at the time I wrote it, it was for the Poets Meet Painters ekphrastic competition. And there was a photographic print by Norman McCluskey in Kenmare called A Field of Wheat. And I liked it. It was a very simple image. And at the time, Ukraine had just been invaded. And I can't believe it's been 3 years. Anyway, here we go. When the snow melts, who will plant the grain? When the snow melts, who will plant the grain? Those who stay to fight may soon lie dead. Will they see their golden fields again? Scarecrows like lone sentinels remain, lethal raptors shrieking overhead. When the snow melts, who will plant the grain? Hurried scramble west on bus or train, babes in the womb filled with mother's dread. Will they see their golden fields again? Children's weary eyes look back in vain. They yearn for home, the smell of fresh baked bread. When the snow melts, who will plant the grain? Memories of azure sky, sun and rain, swathes of wheat across the landscape spread. Will they see their golden fields again? Dear Archangel Michael of Ukraine, with your shield and sword defend and lead. When the snow melts, who will plant the grain? Will they see their golden fields again? I've got a couple more. I'm going to read one for my mother. It's a short poem, who passed away in 2019. Long distance. You always remembered birthdays, never forgot our anniversary, sent effusive blessings with emoji hearts. In the evening, the WhatsApp call, sharing details of the special day. But there will be no text today. This is a different kind of long distance. Glad of old messages still on my phone. I keep your words as a kind of insurance when life beyond seems unreachable, when I need reminding of your love. Okay, here's another one. Skimming stones. Ceaselessly, in soft sighs and slurps, waves expire on shingle. Stones shudder and clatter, take the time they need to become smooth ovals. We took our time too, finding the perfect pebble to fit palm and fingers. For hours we plied our skill, vied to claim the longest count, yours and mine skimmed the surface. If only the tireless waves that lift and carry stones could bring you back. I have one more, if I may. This is a place close to where I live. It's within walking distance. And I don't have to really tell where it is because you can see it in the poem. Only the walls. A bleached tree root washed up rests on heaped rack. All things find their end somewhere. The castle face, veined and weather-worn, is pockmarked, inhabited by bugs. Hungry robins forage among the crevices. Ivy lashes frame empty windows. The breath of the past exhales through the gaping doorway. All that remains are crenellations with clinging plants flying their tendrils like loose hair in an onshore breeze. A leaning branch makes a rustic seat, invites the walker to sit a while, ponder on what is and what is not. Outside the walls, a sapling rowan shades a carved memory stone to someone's son who loved this place. Thank you.
Thank you so, so much, Pam, for starting us off today on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. Pam's new debut collection is New Soil with Revival Press in Limerick. And I'm just I'm just so struck by that charm bracelet. I can't get the charm bracelet out of my head, which was only like your second poem. And so beautifully evoked our theme today, our poet's focus on memory. Thank you so, so much for being
Thank
with
you
us.
very much.
Beautiful, beautiful reading. And look
I'm
forward
glad to have it done now. Now I can relax and enjoy everybody
Now
else.
you can sit back and listen and enjoy. That's
Exactly.
the beauty of going first. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're so
Thank
very
you for listening.
welcome. Well, our next poet is a poet that has been with us here on Cultivating Voices a number of times, and I so enjoy Rachael Stanley's presence in these squares, but in my heart in person because I've been able to meet you in person now, and that was such a thrill and a joy. Um, I love, love, love her work, and I'm just again just so thrilled for her new collection being in the world, and that we get to kind of share this moment with you here on Cultivating Voices with your latest collection. Well, Rachael Stanley comes from Dublin, which is where she currently lives, and she has always been interested in poetry. Always. She's had work published in various journals and anthologies over the years, most recently in Broadsheet Flair 25, Live Encounters. We love Live Encounters, of course. Drawn to the Light Press, and many, many others. She was commended in the Francis Ledwidge Poetry Competition in 2019 and in 2022. And, those are no small things, of course. She's taken part previously in Cultivating Voices, as I've mentioned before, in the open mics, and regularly attends poetry events and open mics in Dublin and all around Ireland. And her first collection, Back to Infinity, was published with Revival Press, also out of Limerick, and launched last May in 2024 at the Irish Writers Center. And if you here in the States or wherever you are joining us in the world have not been to the Irish Writers Center in Dublin, it is a marvel of a place to read. So talk about history and memories created there. I can only imagine what it was like to read from your collection there after having gone to so many poetry readings there. And it's just always a joy and a thrill to be in your company. But today has that little extra special shine because it's with you and your beautiful debut collection. So congratulations, Rachael, and I'm looking forward to enjoying the work.
Well, thank you very much, Sandy. It's lovely to be here, and thanks also to Kim and to Don, who I know is also a vital part of Cultivating Voices with his technical expertise. and very nice to be reading alongside Pam. And I enjoyed your poetry, Pam. And Damien, I look forward to hearing your poems, and also to all those on the open mic. So with the focus on memory, I will start with a poem about my father from the In Memoriam section of my book, Back to Infinity. When I started writing back in 2010, I posted this poem on a website called Writing for All, and it was selected Poem of the Month and then subsequently published in their anthology. And the title of that anthology was Writing for All, the Best of 2010. In the title, I make reference to the biblical place Gethsemane. I gave it that title because my father had a massive stroke on Good Friday and died on Easter Monday. So in a way, I guess I was subconsciously at least drawing parallels with that first Easter story. I wrote it about 30 years after his death. So I will now read the poem on page 61. Remembering my father as we approach Gethsemane, Friday, April the 13th, 1979. I remember that solitary Good Friday when you took your final journey to the Meath Hospital, and I tried to avoid looking into soulful eyes. You were forlorn in your brokenness. I felt 24 years awkwardness hang between us, father and daughter, and an ocean of grief for the sad man I called Dad. Rosy words are easy when relatives die, but it's the unlived days and years that hang about my heart like lingering ghosts, the silence of unspoken words behind your daily rituals. When drunk, all your anger and frustration erupted, sharp relief for the many terrible, sober silences. You were perceived as the enemy within the camp, yet strangely, I felt I traveled the same road as you, a kindred pair of outcasts. For many years, a heavy stone hung about my heart as I somehow felt obliged to demonize you. It would be wrong to pretend you did not disturb the peace. Cant and hypocrisy were words you used a lot, so above all, I must be honest. While you as an angry man raged at life's ills, my mother silently fumed at a world that asked her to shoulder its burdens, obey its rules and regulations, yet did not want to hear her grievances. As a sensitive child, I sat through the years taking into my heart the pain of mother and father, going along with the obligation of a saintly mother and a demon father. But the time has now come to say thanks for sweets and pocket money on Fridays. Thanks for the gentle taps on the head with the rolled up newspaper. Your form of greeting as you came in from work in the evenings, Monday to Friday, sober and serious before the weekend binge. Thanks for the visits to my room when laid up with a minor ailment. You would briefly stand at the door and before quickly disappearing, inquire in that quaint Victorian way of yours, well, how are we? How's the patient? I'm sorry for the conspiratorial world of wife and children that you felt unable to be fully part of. Sorry for your isolation and pain. At last, the time has come to say thanks for all the poetry you recited, opening up for me the world of poetic expression, for revealing your innermost nature. Thanks for the grief and despair you brought, which opened my mind to insight and my heart to compassion. Finally, let me honor you, spirited wounded father, by reciting your favorite lines from Robert Louis Stevenson's Requiem. Here he lies where he longs to be. Home is the sailor, home from the sea, and the hunter, home from the hill. And picking up on the previous themes of alcohol dependency and addiction, the next poem it wasn't all gloom and doom, but it does pick up on the moments of tension, and this one is called Escape. If a row was not brewing, dissatisfaction was looming. My eyes flashed upon the scooter, the Santa gift, a symbol of parental sacrifice. Really, I should stay and help them bridge the divide, lessen the gulf of unresolved hearts inflicted one upon the other. But the scooter stood out amidst this tangled knot beckoning towards freedom. I'm off on the scooter, I declared. I scooted down that hill on Orwell Road, the whiz of the wind blowing through my hair and the wooden board carrying me along the path to freedom. And the next one, a picture of my mother reading. This is based on a photograph of my mother reading. It was possibly taken before I was born, but of course, in looking back at the photographs, it brought back memories of my parents, who I've dedicated this collection to. So, a picture of my mother reading. Mother, did Father capture you by surprise? You look totally absorbed in that book you are reading. An old black and white photograph that still looks fresh a century later. I'd like to buy a magnifying glass to read the small print on the wall beside you. Behind you, potted plants. I recognize the hyacinth and remember now your love for flowers, how you often decorated our hall at home with blossoms of every hue. I wish you were here with me still, to ask you if this photograph was taken when you married first, when you lived in Greystones. Although the light seems to suggest daytime, I find myself wondering, was it past sunset and my older siblings in their slumbers tucked up in their beds? Or was it daytime when Mary from County Wexford, the home help you so adored and praised to the hilt, had taken them off your hands for a little while? Did Father, who had a love for the camera and a great eye for a beauty such as you, tell you to take on a smiling pose? Or were you taken off to some other land of promise, engrossed in some captivating story? Might you have been reading Somerset Maugham's The Verger, a favourite of yours and his, a story of calamity turning to triumph? I can almost hear him say, "The old doll is looking good," a hint of romance and attraction coming to me now from memory. Oh, mother, dearest mother, did you know what lay ahead of you? I think in your heart you knew that yours would not be an easy marriage, but a journey of two souls who were drawn by the magnetic force of attraction. Was there banishment from the garden of Eros with the greyness of everydayness down the weary road of addiction, avoidance, and silence? Were you challenged to nail the serenity prayer to your heart, to accept what you couldn't change, to change the things you could and did, and the wisdom? Oh yes, mother, you did have the wisdom. My father captured you serenely reading. I'll just take a sip of water there. And the next one is Farewell to Gran. It's from the first section of the collection. And the first section really focuses on childhood memories and the impact of those childhood memories. And I suppose seeing death at such a young age, I was only 7 when my grandmother died, and there was no way to kind of hide it because, as the poem will illustrate. But I decided when I wrote this poem initially, I put this, the words of T.S. Eliot from his poem Four Quartets. And it struck a deep chord with me. And when I was putting this collection together, I put this in it, and it's, we shall not cease from exploration. And the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. Apart from the opening and closing lines, the poem is written in a very simple way in the voice of a 7-year-old child. I guess it gave me an awareness from a young age that we don't hang around planet Earth forever. Or as I sometimes would joke, there's none of us getting out of here alive. And on that cheerful note, I will read Farewell to Gran. Silence first made itself known to me as absence. I am 7 years of age, and I wonder, where is Mother? Where is Dad? Where are Anne, Jean, Elizabeth, Joe, and Mildred? Down at the bottom of the house? No one in the kitchen? Up one floor? No one in Mother and Dad's room? No one in the sitting room? No one in the dining room? No one in the bathroom? No one in bedroom 1, 2, 3, and 4? At last, at the top of the house in the blue bedroom, Gran on her deathbed and everyone around her reciting the rosary as tears flowed through the family. I decide I might as well join in to keep them company. Anne says, "Don't cry, Gran has gone to heaven." How can she be gone to heaven when she's still lying on the bed? 7 years of age and a skeptic in the making, I wasn't having any of this heaven lark. Silence first made itself known to me as absence. Now it makes itself known as presence. And continuing with that theme, I've 3 haiku on the next page on the theme of mortality. I'll read 2 of them. She surrenders, the earth accepts her final offering. Autumn morning, clearing yesterday's ashes, I see my own. And I will conclude with the poem from the last section, a bit more upbeat. And it's called Ocean. Apart from my great love for the sea and swimming in it in the summer, I suppose in this poem, I'm also alluding to cosmic or subconscious memory. And there is reference to memory in the poem. I suppose it's a reflection on the eternal and cyclical nature of human existence. So, ocean. I stand by the shore, looking out at your blue-green expanse. I see jeweled specks of sunlight shimmering on your surface of calm. I listen to your waves gliding back and forth and watch your foam gather momentum at the edge, sucking in and spewing out, sand and pebbles flung about. As I stand there, you pull me into your majesty and mystery. You take me down to your depths, to your bed, where you sing your timeless tunes. For time, that plague of humans, is unheard of in your eternal motion. It is here I find a trace of memory, of being one with you and part of you. Timeless, joyous ocean. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh. Rachel, that was a triumph of a reading. Just to begin, to end with the ocean, which holds so much memory The ocean is vast. It's infinite. It is back to infinity. The ocean always takes us back to infinity and memory, and the way that your poems were kind of waves of memory. And I could not help but be really reminded of you talking about that 7-year-old, and being reminded of another 7-year-old poet from over here in the States, writing in a poem called The Waiting Room, Elizabeth Bishop, also writing about her own sense of isolation as a young child, and thinking about the larger cosmic meaning of life, of connecting through through memory and remembrances. It's really terrific. The book, thank you so, so much. The book is Back to Infinity, also with Revival Press. And Revival is also the title. The name Revival also has that sense of memory, also going back, reliving the idea of memory. So fitting. Thank you. Incredible reading. Wow.
Thank you
Um,
very much,
oh,
Sandy.
you're so welcome. I hope to, when I'm over there, that all of us can get together and you can read those poems to me in person. You, Pam, Damien, if we could all get together in the same room, it'd be amazing
I'd enjoy that.
to relive the memory of today in person. I would enjoy that, of course. Well, our final reader before we head to the open mic, and a reminder, folks, of course, please use the chat to show your appreciation for today's readers, and their lineation and their memories, their images, and of course, please do support the poets and their presses if you have the resources to buy their collections. And thanks to Kim for posting those in the chat. Well, our final reader, another person that I was like absolutely flabbergasted to be able to meet in person when I was, Kim had already left. She had gone back to the States. I was left alone to do my damage around Ireland. I feel fortunate they'll let me back in. And I was in Dublin. I was at the Irish Writers Center for a reading. It was Anne Tannum was reading from her latest collection and launching it, actually. And I had been there just a couple days before to hear Phil Lynch launch his book, so that was a thrill. And again, to be in the halls of the Irish Writers Center is a thrill in and of itself, just to be in the building. But to be in the building with Damien Donnelly added a whole nother dimension to the experience. I was so thrilled to meet Damien. I love Damien's work. I've been following it. And today I'm just absolutely thrilled to be able to hear a more concentrated set of it as live as we get in these squares. Well, Damien V. Donnelly is the author of 2 pamphlets, a micro collection, and a full-length collection published by the Hedgehog Poetry Press. He is the host, producer of Eat the Storms, the poetry podcast, and editor-in-chief of the Storms Journal. And folks, if you are not familiar with these, I would be shocked. But if you're not, here's your chance. Get familiar. Extraordinary curation of poetry, and an amazing poetry citizen. Damien's work also appears in various journals and anthology, and his second collection, Back from Away. I love all the titles of these books. Kim, you did a smashing job of putting this one together. I just want to say kudos to you. His second collection, Back from Away, was published by Taurus Press in 2024, and he is the creative projects coordinator at the Irish Writers Center. So he gets to hang out with all those amazing poetry ghosts in Dublin at all times. I am just thrilled to welcome Damien Donnelly to the program. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Oh, it's such a joy to be here. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Kim. Thank you so much, Dom. Um, yeah, the Irish Writers Centre, it is a great place. I will have to say that the most exciting thing happened last night, and I got to introduce the audience to Paul Muldoon, who introduced a spoken word night. We had like four of the most incredible spoken word artists in Ireland: Kieran A, Cormac, Ní Geralt, Anna D, and Stephen James Smith. So it was exceptional. And Paul Muldoon was there. He had Fiat Moriarty, a musician from Horselips, there. He was on the guitar, and it was a sensational night. But tonight is another sensational night. So again, thank you so much for having me here. I am delighted to read. I'm delighted to hear everybody else read. Congratulations to Pam and to Rachel from those exceptional readings. I'm going to read from Back From Away. It seems fitting because Back From Away it documents the fact that I was away from Ireland for 25 years. I lived in Paris, London, and Amsterdam, and then I came back here just before COVID, got locked down in the family cottage, and had to unpack all of my memories from all these other places, from all these other parts, places that I called home here in this cottage. So I'm going to start with the opening poem. It's called Between the Floorboards. This room is 17 floorboards wide. I know this because last year, when I thought 3 months too narrow to condense the memory of all my movement into such a small space, I painted over all the footprints, twisted across its knots. Now, 5 months later, I've broken the floorboards into separate cities and tiptoe along their streets in different socks, recalling all the things I touched in the places these floorboards will never bring me back to. Over time, their luster falls towards matte, while my own skin grows paler than ever before. Here, at the Fingal end of floorboard number 14, in blue socks and family shadows on the far side of the water. 10 years ago, in Amsterdam, on the Lijnbaansgracht, tied to canal wall, I lived on a boat 24 floorboards wide, but for its bed in the bow, only 2 boards deep. A whole year, tied to things like time, tide, tradition, and a boat that couldn't sail. Here, at the northern edge of Dublin, the Dutch streets run along floorboard number 3, and when I reach a certain point in that board, I stop, remove my socks, feel the run of current over stilled toe, and remember what it was like when I danced on that water. So that's the opening poem. That's me in this tiny little cottage trying to unpack everything. Souvenirs, I think, are really interesting things that capture moments and then later become these memory sort of guides. Lots of things. Things like letterpresses, which there's one here behind me. When I lived in Amsterdam for 10 years, at one point, as I said, I lived on a barge, on a houseboat. And while I was living on that houseboat, I bought this letterpress. And I bought that letterpress with the plan of having it living on that boat. And it did. But then years later, I had to pack it up and move away and come here and unpack it and put it on this wall. And now whenever I look at it, it reminds me of there and not here. When actually, in fact, it's actually here, but it doesn't relate to here, it relates to there. So this is called an antique letterpress in Amsterdam. By the way, there are 2 Dutch words in this. They're very simple. One is natuurlijk, which means naturally or of course, and the second is natuurlijk niet, which means naturally not or of course not. I found you in Amsterdam, remember? Natuurlijk. Somewhere on the overtone. That summer of my slow 30s when home was a broad barge, 24 floorboards wide. The Lijnbaansgracht it was, remember? Natuurlijk. I wonder how deep the things we've held are carved into our core. Those letters you once housed that formed words. Those words that gave way to sentences that someone once pressed and printed for someone else sitting further away to read and wonder. Or when we ourselves slip from canal that held a barge where letters were once pressed against the port wall, does it all fall away naturally? Remember? Derlik neat. So as I was trying to think about what are the things that jog me, definitely one of the things that jog me and that inspire me to write are the scent of different things. It doesn't always have to be something sweet, like a cake baking in the oven, like something savory, some bread baking in the oven. I'm always baking, so all my references will be something to do with baking. Sometimes it's just that peculiar thing, and this one from this poem is a peculiar thing of when I was a kid, my mother in the kitchen, in the bathroom, every Sunday, spraying hairspray to set a shape, a form, a style onto her hair before we went out for mass. And every time I smell it, I go back to being a child and waiting to go to mass for penance, for the wafer and all else. This is called Things That Stick and all the rest. Age 10, Dublin. Residue of hairspray on a Sunday morning at the back of the throat, as if we'd all swallowed your rollers for breakfast. Before the tougher choke in the church later, that dry white wafer pasted onto palate as if it were trying to figure out how to be bread, body, anything that might bind. Age 30, London. Residue of hairspray in the house. I painted over and over as if colour were the antidote to running away from being 10, from being 30, from being tied to things that still choked. Age 40, Paris. 5th floor walk up. Too small to fit in a single residue of anything non-essential. You in a hotel this time, filling it with all the things I couldn't hold anymore. Me, baking bread and sharing it in parks where bodies were burning, in Paris, choking, wondering how to tie knots again. Having cleansed the palate of those wafers that dissolved like blind belief. So food, I suppose, is another thing that places us, that positions us in certain places. You know, you go to one restaurant, you sit down with one person with one candle lighting, you're served this meal, it sits in front of you, you enjoy it. Then later on, years later, you order the same meal and it comes along, you're with a totally different person, and yet you're not, because you're back in that other time where you first ate it. But everything tastes different because it is different, because you're different. So this poem is set in Helsinki. I suppose in all truth, when I was there, I was with my boyfriend, who at the time was trying to figure out what his name was going to be when he became a she and she became my girlfriend. So this is called Better Than Nothing. Apologies for horse-loving people. better than nothing. We ate horse once at a corner table in a candlelit basement at Yuri's. Everything difficult to distinguish. A trend-filled restaurant where I'd blagged us a table with what you called my Irish charms. Earlier, we'd skimmed across the water on a ferry that to an island where the wind blew everything but the essential of us. As if Helsinki were the surgeon and we the patients, coming late to the theatre of life and learning what it took to eat a horse. But nothing is ever what it appears. Not under flame or over wave. I sit now at another table, light another candle, catch an old glimpse in the flickering shadows of who we were, what we tasted, and all that the wind swept off our shoulders. We ate horse once in a candlelit basement. All fantastic flesh without a single trace of fat, while making lists of all the things we would do together. Some things are now indigestible, like those lists we left in basements. Ooh, that was a fun one to read. And again, apologies. We didn't know it was horse at the time. We were in Helsinki. We thought it was bear. I was excited for the fact that we were eating bear. When the waitress came over, I said, "Oh my goodness, that was amazing. The bear was amazing." And it was a tasting menu. And she said, "What bear? We didn't give you any bear." And I said, "No, no, you did. It was this. It was bear. It was this bear." And she went, "No, that was horse." Yeah, so apologies. I have two poems left. I think I'm doing okay in time. Is that okay? Yes? All right. So this poem is bringing us back to, I suppose, back to the beginning in a sense. It's bringing us back to this house. So this house was built for my grandparents, my great-grandparents in 1904. And I arrived back here just before COVID. And all the way through COVID, I spent all the time in the garden, you know, digging, weeding, getting down to the roots of all the trees they planted. I'm adopted. So the very strange thing about getting really close to your family's roots is you're very, very far away from your own. So this is called To Find Out What Lies Beyond the Scent of Lavender. Between my fingers, I twirl calyx from whirl, and nostrils twitch at the memory of a scent that isn't mine. Chimes ring, cross-legged in the midst of a Buddhist chant. In a white room bearing no evidence of a door or the need for any exit. I was not born to the elixir of any lavender. I was the water to its oil, running early over its ease. Shown the door before I was able to identify the concept of all a room could hold. This isn't me. This scent now staining the epidermis. Tracing oils over skin, telling of individuality while I struggle to connect muscle, memory, and sometimes connection. Between fingers, my body tells me are mine. In a garden, I've trimmed back into a shape resembling familiarity, but without the roots of any original hold. I twirl the calyx of lavender. and scent explodes against a skin I'm still trying to get beneath. So last poem, thank you all so much for having me. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for a glorious, glorious evening. Sandy, I would love to meet up again. I know the last time that we met, I was running for a train. I'm always running for a train. As Dor will testify, when you live in Ireland, if you don't drive, you're always running for a train. It's always out the door. So thank you once again for an incredible evening. And this last one is called Original Songs. Here now, flown back to nest. The streets hold no shadows of my former shyness. They do not call me by nickname or any given name. Their name, her name, his name. Back then when there was no him and Burley and me. Here now, back to where it all began before me. Their nests, their streets, their names, their stories I borrowed. Adoption only comes with the essentials. Funny to be here in this nest, in this position. You say it's home. And there are truth in those words, like saying we're family. But this was never my home, and our blood is not the same. We look out at the same land, same tree, same leaf, but we do not perceive the same stars at night. When the garden is gone and the universe asks, where do you come from? Thank you very much, everybody.
Ooh, that's Damien Donnelly, everyone. And oh my gosh. You know, what I was struck by was really your set as memory, sort of as its own requiem to time, space, and place. And that sense of we can really never ever go back to who we never were.
Mm.
And to as a way to consider who we've always wanted to be, and the swirl of all of that contained in the identity of your poems was just really, really profound and powerful. The book is Back to Away, and folks, have we ever just been given the gift of memory here from our featured readers today? Thank you so much, Pam, Rachel, and Damien. Extraordinary exploration of our poet's focus on memory. And now we go to the open mic, and I want to definitely get our first 10 readers in. It's going to be, I'm going to keep my comments to bare minimum, folks, because I want to get as many. I want to even try to get to the waiting list, but I know we're stretched. So let me go first immediately to Isaac Cohen, followed by Catriona Lane.
Hi, dear Sandy, dear Kim, dear Don. The time is hard, but we must go after hope. Isaac Cohen, the singer. The singer on the stage resumed his dream. the spirit of this life hovered above. Glory has come. And in 9 April, there was my birthday, and I was happy to celebrate it with my friends, with an important group of poetry. And I hope that the peace will come, and peace and love to all my friends. To me, Sandy. And thank you. Thank you.
That's Isaac Cohen joining us from Tel Aviv, my friends. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep us moving along. Always peace, always peace. That's a peace poet right there for you. Catriona Lane, I'm so excited that you were here.
Hi,
Hello, my dear.
can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I
Can
can
you
hear you beautifully.
Because I'm on my mobile phone, so I'm holding it up. So anyway. Okay, so hello everybody. GU. This is the Connemara jury calling. Hello, Damien. Hello, Rachel. Rachel, I have your book here. And anyway, I just want to say about Damien. Well, everybody knows he's gorgeous, but apart from that, a quote that I like that Damien has written from his poetry collection, Enough. It goes like this. It says, "Memory is mischievous when it twists past a door long since shut. Enough." And I really like that. It's sort of, it could be written about the fellow that I'm going to read about here now. Last summer, I think I'm shouting, but it's because I'm on my mobile, so sorry. Last summer, I was reading Dubliners by James Joyce in bed, rereading it, I should say. And after I finished the story, my ex-boyfriend from my 20s popped into my head, and this poem popped out of my soul. And then Damien put it into his journal, which is called, well, it's The Storms, issue 4 or 5, but the theme is Dublin, from city to shore and across the sea. So it suited it. It starts in a, am I shouting? No? Can you hear me? Okay. It starts in quite a well-known cafe in Dublin called the Winding Stair. So that's where it starts. So anyway, I'm going to try and see if I can read this. Here we go. Dubliners. Do you recall lying in bed one early autumn morning before lectures, reading me Dubliners? We were Dubliners then, in our own peculiar private city of love, drinking coffee later in the Winding Stair, when it was a really big bookshop, with 3 floors and red-checked oilcloth covered tables by the windows. We never bothered watching other lovers crossing the Halfpenny Bridge. We knew how to walk on water then. Our crossroads and mazes would manifest later. Let them come. Our bridge flows between us still. Should we so wish, we could meet under the Liffey's middle lamp. But we do not dip our toes into her murkiness just yet. Do you recall me copying your reading list? Unlike Dorian Gray, we have made no pact with the devil. Our mirrors don't lie. Your gaze holds me still, unconsciously, consciously. Isma Hanskahan Sul Kharad. I am listening to the Velvet Underground. Do you think they knew the Irish proverb too? You were my mirror, just like Nico sings it. You reflected all of me, and I you. Who let the mirror fall? See it here, still splintered, not smashed. It reflects our truth, silvering the shadows without nostalgia. A scattering of knowledge. We are circling back towards source. Since then, I have grown strong. I am a free spirit. I am a white witch. And even if I weigh my hem skirts down, I know this time I will not drown. There you are now.
Well done, Damien. Choosing that poem for the storms. Thank you. Thank you, Catriona. We'll see you in July, August. You can
See you soon.
You can read it to me again. But don't be a stranger. Come back before then. Another one of my heart folks over in Ireland. Cathal MacThréinfhir, always excited to hear a poem from you.
Sandy, thank you very much for that compliment. Let me first of all express my appreciation and thanks to the three main poets right here tonight. Thank you for sharing your poetry. And to Isaac and to Catriona, cheers, Okay, here's the poem. I hope you enjoy it. It's called Move to Memory. You move to memory now. Lost in a past of time's fog, your face no longer lingers in my mind. No more does your voice hold its sound to seduce my willing ear with whispering sighs to devour the center of me. It is shielded by time's law and uprooted now. You can no longer grow. You move to memory now. Sinead, back to you, Sandy. I look forward to the rest of the poetry tonight. Thank you all.
Moved to memory. That is what this is all about tonight, this afternoon, wherever you are in the time zones. Thank you so much, Cathal. Great poem. Amy Ash, excited to hear a poem from you today, and again, an absolute joy to meet you.
It was wonderful to meet you as well, and to see some of you others there too. Thank you everyone for these beautiful explorations of memory. I am loving this reading so much. I'm going to read a poem in memory of my father, who passed away in 2017 from a rare and aggressive form of brain cancer. This poem is also about his loss of memory, in particular his loss of language after his diagnosis. It's called Elegy with Absence and Aphasia. Telephone wires strung like guitar strings, like lines in a composition book. No fingers touching music, no sound, no words, nothing is written. Stay in the lines, the teacher tells my daughter, still learning to harness the rough swirls and loops of her letters, her lowercase g like a lasso flung into open air and grassland where no animals graze, grasping. She is writing about Grandpa, how sometimes he didn't have the words, how everything is filled with the words he didn't have. Not even birds punctuate the empty sentence. Everything erased by smudged sky. Here, nothing is written, not even elegy. I keep looking to language as I do, but the phone lines are tubes secured to an IV pole. The clouds are hospital gray. We searched the MRI for signs of recurrence. It was like an explosion, the surgeon said, of the tumor in your brain, like the tumor exploded. There are no fireworks in this sky to serve as metaphor for this, only emptiness. I'm waiting for the sun to tear through like a bullet hole, but it never does. Our grief is not that quick and exact. If there are birds here, I don't see them. If there are birds here, they are stripped of song. 1 year later, and I look to this landscape. There is no sun hanging like an obscene pill stuck in the throaty gray above, the phlegmy clouds. The landscape is waiting to be shaped into meaning. The ground, rough and beige, is the blanket we pulled over you when we said we were ready. We lied. 1 year after your death, and I am the one left without words. Someone painted a white line on the road, dividing black from blur. Someone said, step over it. And then you did. Thank you.
Wow. Amy, that poem, so prismatic in how it doesn't stay in all of its lines. I can't, yeah, I'm speechless actually. Thank you. That's extraordinary poem. Wow. David Brydges, you are next.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
I'm going to Paris for a 3-day creativity conference next month. And to put myself in the mood, I started reading this book, The Only Street in Paris, Life on the Rue de Martyrs. In English, it's Street of Martyrs by Elaine Sciolini. And some adventures and misadventures popped up. And I'll dedicate the epigram to Damien because he wrote a little version of his time in Paris too. Ghost silhouettes of Paris. Though you may leave Paris, Paris never really leaves you. Janice MacLeod. Paris is an exotic street fragrance, stimulating with elan vital and a culture of the cultured. It is a feminine city where eroticism is never hidden behind heaps of hypocrisy or sleazy backstreet hustles. A city whose historic ghosts of past visits never sleep. My first silhouette ghost arrives sitting in a cafe with Parisienne Nathalie, with whom I'm having an illicit affair. We met at a hostel near Cannes, and when I came to Paris, we rendezvoused our tryst. With civil sanity, there is an inexpensive room at the back of this cafe that we rent as nooners from noon to 3 p.m., mainly for arranged quickies. The owners are used to changing bed sheets every couple of hours. My second silhouette has me very late for a lunch date with Marie at the St. Anne Hospital Center. She's an Argentine doctor studying to be a psychiatrist. We met when she was on vacation, and both were locked in the 12th century Cistercian Abbey Notre Dame de Senonque, while the staff went for a 2-hour lunch. I suggested we sit in the sunny courtyard. Confessing my dark demons of dad, she listened with professional attentiveness. In the end, offering one piece of advice. Put this in your pocket, she says. Before he dies, you must tell him you love him, which I reluctantly did. The final silhouette leaves Chambre d'Amour, running down the steps of the Chaussée d'Antin de la Lafayette metro, diving for the closing doors, my shoulders jammed, and I cocked my head upwards into the metal roof, or tout in French. My white t-shirt is bloodied as I stain the white tile floor. 2 students drag me up the stairs to a waiting ambulance. I have no health insurance, and I'm broke as I'm flying back to Montreal the next day. Keep saying pas d'argent, while the ambulance attendant keeps saying pas de problème. At the hospital, the doctor stitches the head wound and sends me for x-rays. When I went to retrieve them, the clerk refused and asked for 75 francs. I tell him I have no money, grab the x-rays and run up the stairs to the doctor's office. My head is spinning with stress until the doctor says there's no further damage. I will register you as a Polish immigrant plumber, so everything is okay financially. Profusely say merci beaucoup, merci beaucoup, merci beaucoup. I have no I Love Paris t-shirt or miniature Eiffel Tower tourist souvenirs. Just an embodied tattoo scar still on my bohemian skull.
Thank you so much, David. Folks, I'm going to honor that we get through our 10 folks, but we won't get to anyone on the waiting list. I'm so sorry. So next, let's hear from Eelke Lampe.
Thanks so much, Sandy. And it's actually Lampe. I still say Lampe. My mother passed in December 2017, and I wrote this about a year ago. And I was thinking today that, Passover is soon, next week. And so radishes might be resonating with that feast as well. In praise of radishes. Sie lachen mich an. They smile at me. My mother used to justify her pick of radishes beyond the carefully chosen grocery list. Now I understand more than ever. The perfectly round, shiny red faces pulling me in, thousands of miles away from my childhood grocery store. Like a satellite of radiant freckles in a sea of green and orange and yellow. And don't think they are all the same. I only pick those glistening with purpose, with delicate, spindly noses teasing outward, their bushy green tail of green giving temporary protection. At home, I now do what I witnessed my mother do and scoffed at the time. I strip them of their entourage, which would make them rot too soon, and carefully sever their noses and tails. With white bottom and head, they wander into a sealed temporary home for easy access delight. A most satisfying snack when hungry, and dinner is still some time away. Growing up, my mom would serve them at night in a small, round-edged, square bowl next to tomatoes and maybe parsley to go with cold cuts, salami, and cheese on hearty Grau- und Schwarzbrot, the quintessential German Abendbrot. My husband shuns most vegetables unless fried into oblivion, soaked in butter, or subdued in soup. But when we start on dinner preps and casually I ask, would you like a radish? He keeps surprising me with, yes. I then smile back at them and join him in the satisfying crunch and sharp, tangy pleasure. Ja, Mutti, sie lachen mich an.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much. And apologies for pronunciation on my part.
No problem.
Next, Sylvia Clare. Beautiful to have you with us today.
Thank you, Sandy. I'm really glad to be here. I'm always very happy when I can make it on a Sunday evening. It's one of the things I look forward to. This is I live on an island off the UK coast, and this is so we're surrounded by beaches, and this is called Childhood Beaches. You know the kind where eternal stretches of sand fill with infinite possibilities. Excavation. How deep can I dig? The weight of the sand, cool and heavy on my own body. Building, castles adorned with pebble windows, seaweed flags, and decorative shells, each representing a fairy story in your head. Beauty and the Beast, Rapunzel against the tides. You know the race against the tide coming in to build your own swimming pool, hoping it would be filled, then watching it all washed away. You know the time when days seem endless, yet always ending too soon, when muscles ache from races up and down sand dunes, scratches of marram grass against your legs, the wounds of battle inflicted. You know the shivering when too much time is spent at the water's edge, engrossed in the ebb and flow of each ripple, feeling it flood against your warm skin, trickle between your fingers, nudge your toes until your own body is forgotten, until it reminds you, the wind is colder today.
Oh,
excuse me.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm so glad when you can join us too. Thank you. Thank you. Well, over to Colorado, Kate Wegrzyn. Hello.
Hello, thank you. It's wonderful to be here, and I will get into my story. I thought the people of Italy were so wonderful. They would sing out to each other from their balconies. This was before I was aware of the earliest beginning of COVID. In 2019, I joined the Irish Self-Isolation Support to listen to their kind outreach during the outbreak of COVID. There seemed to be a lack of outreach in the USA. My thanks to the uplifting responses of the community in peril who posted a share of the COVID impact. Soon after, a radio show announced in February of 2020, a daily reading, The Wisdom of Fionn, by Fergus Hogan. Every day I wrote down each intriguing chapter as I listened to his voice carry me to my dream of Ireland. Throughout that time from February to May, I would write to Fergus about what I heard him say. My comment on Bitter Cry, thank you for your depth of emotion and places which carry each reader to their own memory of times we chase, yet never erase. Oh, this went on for a long time of writing back and forth, and then finally telling him, I've been listening and I've filled a whole notebook of all of your writings. And he says, hi, dear Kate, give me your address. I'll send you the book. So there it was. One fine day, I turned on my internet and there was a woman reading a poem in front of a church. In the blasting wind and pouring rain, she somehow kept her balance with the soaked shuffle of papers, determined to read. I was mesmerized by this woman. Seeing her, I saw her and her friends. She was there in Missoula, Montana, and she read at her friends. And then there was an invitation for me to join. In the USA, Colorado could join, even though I saw this woman, Sandy Yannone, in Montana, for an online program with Cultivating Voices live poetry. A hope to visit Ireland. Autumn sings in my heart. Thank you to everyone who has reached out to me. I love you.
Those are some grand memories indeed, indeed. Oh, and Fergus Hogan is a memory all wrapped up in all wrapped up in himself. Yeah, for sure. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, our final two readers, Lynette Rabsatt, and then we'll end with Lynda VE Crawford, just as I ended AWP last week.
Thank you so much, Sandy, and big greetings and shout out to our featured readers today. As always, inspiring and excellent. I have one short piece to share on the theme, Some Memories Fade. Some memories fade, even as I grapple with my mind to hold on to those dearest times. It is a struggle that I can't seem to win, that I can't seem to surpass. Those memories that last are deep-rooted in my past life, and I can't seem to recollect the ones left. To stand with me, those who I should truly treasure, the ones who tried to save me from losing myself, from going further into ill health. Who will remember me in death? Some memories fade and I remain the only constant in this vacuum. Thank you.
Wow, it's a great poem. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lynette. So great to have you always. All right, Lynda, you're going to close us out, and then I'll come back for some very brief program notes and a final
Sure.
thank you.
It's been wonderful. We all, I'm sure, have so many memory poems and what to choose. I will go with one that's a memory related to my grandmother. Cooling tea. The distance flows tall as a grandmother's right hand moves up in a tight bond with her cup. Enamel slightly chipped. A downflow of milk tea descends to a partner cup, bringing soothing air to cool the heat, save the tongue from burns, leave room for sweetness. A child's eyes look up at the tea fall's soft, guttural hum. Grandmother's gnarled fingers, strong as the habit of a juniper tree, a pencil cedar, gone and unforgotten. How many times have strong brown wrinkles of left hand echo right, left cup rise, with a child counting each pour aloud. Hands know when it's time. They've since passed, yet memories still pour. I stand in my grown-up kitchen, hear the suctioned release of fridge door, opening to take in a single hot cup to cool. I keep still. I wait to watch a thudding close and remember a tall distance when a grandmother's hands flowed up. This tea of mine, cooled by electricity, appliance, gasket, a closed door, fails to soothe my longing throat. Thank you. It's a memory of the old days of cooling tea. I pour in from cup to cup to cup. Thank you.
Lynda VE Crawford, I raise my cup to you, and I raise my cup to all of you who read today in the open mic. Thank you. And thank you to our featured readers, of course, Pam Muller and Rachael Stanley and Damien Donnelly. Would you all unmute just for a moment and show your appreciation for what now is a memory, of course. Beautiful, beautiful
Thank
reading.
you. Thank you.
Wow.
Hey,
Thank you. Amazing writing, amazing reading.
Thank you.
Incredible.
You
Thank
know,
you.
every poem that we write, as soon as we release it, it is a memory. Just as now this reading is a memory and will go on in perpetuity. I love how this word of really opened the door, really evoked so much from out of all of you. And I want to thank, of course, Kim Ports Parsons coming up with the idea for the Poets Focus today on memory. And of course, also to Don Krieger for Don's support of the program today. Folks, April continues. We move forward into the future. And soon we will be having next Sunday our poets new book showcase for April. It's our special, National Poetry Month International, I like to say, although this one's not international. And this is a beautiful constellation of people who actually all have intersections with each other. They've either chosen each other's work for a prize, they are collaborators, or their artwork was the cover of one of the other writers. So it's a really interesting grouping. We'll be joined by Julie Marie Wade, Denise Duhamel, Octavio Quintanilla, and Octavio will be bringing his book, which was a longlisted for the National Book Award, The Book of Wounded Sparrows, and Tina Carlson, so from Santa Fe. It's going to be an extraordinary constellation of poets and their work, and I hope to see you all next Sunday. And of course, looking ahead, those of you we weren't able to get to on the open mic, my apologies today. Please do join us, though, on the 20th for our final reading of April, which will be our wild card open mic. Well, that's it for me today. What I will have, of course, extraordinary memories of this reading, as I do all of them. But wow, so many poems evoke so many ideas and were very provocative into opening those doors to memory. Thank you, one and all. Folks, as I say at the end of every program, take very good care of yourselves this week. Take exquisite care of your beloveds. And look. We need look no further than even this reading to see what happens when we keep writing. Stay the course, my friends, and don't stay in the lines. I'll see you next week. Take good care.